I recently came across this quote by the multi-talented William Shatner. Pain and guilt can't be taken away with the wave of a magic wand. They're the things we carry with us, the things that make us who we are. If we lose them, we lose ourselves. I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain. Well, not long ago, I experienced a bout of plantar fasciitis. I went on a strenuous hike, and my right foot started hurting, really hurting, and it kept getting worse. So I finally turned around, and by the time I got back to my car, I could hardly walk. I didn't think much about it until a week later when I attempted the same hike, in the same shoes, and the same thing happened. Well, from my explorations of pain and suffering, I have realized that pain is a message and suffering is a story. So regarding the plantar fasciitis, I kept assuming that if I didn't make up a story about the pain, my foot would soon return to normal. So I didn't worry about it. I didn't complain about it. I didn't argue with it. I truly did not fall into a story. Well, my foot did not return to normal, and pain hurts. Hello, I'm Kathy Jacobson, and I'm the founder of modesofemotion.com, where we believe emotions are energy, energy is power, and therefore emotions are power. Our mission is to help people access the vast amount of personal power they possess. We work to reduce conflict and suffering within ourselves, between individuals, and in the world. Before I get into the topic, I invite you to accept as a gift a free copy of my ebook, Easing Pain, 8 Action Steps to Long-Term Relief. Just visit our website, modesofemotion.com, and share your email address with us, and you will receive a copy of this book. In today's video, I'm going to use my experience of plantar fasciitis to explore what pain and suffering have to do with personal power. As William Shatner says, pain helps us understand who we are. It also illuminates what we believe, and it can help us access the infinite power that exists within each of us. So let's begin by taking a quick look at personal power. In general terms, personal power is about our relationship with ourselves. We can examine the areas of our lives where we are strong, as in able to choose the energy we exert in different situations, and we can look at the areas where we are unable to overcome the stumbling blocks of our lives. Each of us, every single one of us, was born with an inner ability to master ourselves and our lives, but we have to trust the power we have. We must trust our ability to use that power and trust that we can prevent it from leaking away. This is where the difference between pain and suffering comes in. Almost as soon as we exit our mother's bodies, we experience pain, and in some cases, the pain begins during the birth process. In general, we experience pain before we become verbal enough to say where it hurts. At a very young age, we start forming lifelong habits regarding how do we respond to pain. In most cases, the people who love us want to save us from pain, and if their first objective is to alleviate our pain, then that tends to become our first objective. We are rarely taught that pain is a survival mechanism, or that it can be one of our most important teachers. And once we learn to view pain as the enemy, it can become a source of suffering. We give our power to it in many ways. We fight against it. We doctor it. We deny it. We resist it. We indulge it. We pander to it. We cope with it. We don't, on the other hand, receive it, observe it, listen to it, or learn from it. Therefore, we refuse it as a messenger. And if suffering becomes dominant, we become subject to its power. So how do we take back our power? How do we become masters of our well-being? Well, we have to return to the place where the pain began, and then we have to accept pain as an ally and learn to listen to what it has to say. The four most common messages of pain are: pay attention, stop doing that, take positive action, connect to your wholeness. Let's look at each one of these important messages. First, pay attention. If you've ever missed an alert on your phone, you know how easy it is to be so focused on something you don't hear the signal. The same is true with pain. We can miss the initial signs and only start to notice when the pain becomes truly problematic. And by the time we finally pay attention, it has become more difficult to address and manage. This is also true with emotional pain. We often brush right past it, and as it accumulates, it becomes a story. Say, for instance, someone close to you is a real tease, your brother perhaps, and he teases you about some quirk in your personality. His intention may be to just rib you a little bit, but because he knows you will wince, he makes a habit of it. So this is a choice point for you. Although you probably can't change his behavior, you can choose to absorb it and suffer from it, or you can stay in your own power. So, when you experience pain, when do you start paying attention? And once you acknowledge the pain, how bad does it have to get before you do something about it? If you can't or won't listen to the message, you allow yourself to stay in harm's way, and your creative mind will start making up a story about your situation or your relationship with a certain person. In another video, I explore the ways a story often evolves into suffering. Look for Identify Your Story of Suffering, which is the first of a 6-part series on relief from suffering. Check out the links in the story notes. The second message, to stop doing that, can apply to both physical actions and emotional situations. Coming back to my plantar fasciitis, I had to stop wearing that particular pair of shoes to hike in and stop going barefoot around the house. Sometimes we need to stop arguing, stop complaining, stop worrying, stop procrastinating, or stop indulging in some disempowering emotion. Now, we're not talking about not being angry or not feeling angry. It's very, very important that you don't ignore or bury those emotions. But holding on to an afflictive emotion is where pain turns into a story and escalates into suffering. The third possible message of pain is to take action, take positive action, to create a change in the situation. In the case of plantar fasciitis, I began to stretch my ankles and calves and to exercise my feet. In many cases of physical pain, positive action is to see a doctor and follow medical advice. To take positive action in a situation that causes emotional pain, you faced two basic choices. As a dear friend of mine who was a relationship counselor used to say, make it win-win or walk. The problem with walking away is that in most cases, the story continues and so does suffering. So when you want to take action, become conscious of what's going on in your psyche and come at it with kindness and compassion. And the fourth message, which is connect with your wholeness, is about accessing your personal power at a deeper level. It's important to remember that wholeness has nothing to do with perfection. Everyone has trials, tribulations, issues, and problems. Wholeness does recognize that when we experience pain, it is, at that moment, a necessary part of who we are. Pain is not an enemy to be conquered. It's an ally. It's a bright arrow pointing at something requiring our attention. So start recognizing pain is a message. Listening to the message will help you access greater levels of personal power. Since far too often suffering allows pain, please use the links below to check out our 6-video series on relief from suffering. Here at Modes of Emotion, we all have personal experiences with listening to pain. In many instances, we've all waited too long to pay attention, and then it's often a struggle to find our way back to wholeness. Our website provides many free resources for accessing your personal power, and we invite you to accept our offer of a free introductory coaching session. Regardless of your particular pain, our goal is to help you find the peace and wellness you desire. And just visiting our website, we have, as I mentioned earlier, a free gift for you. Share your email address with us and we will send you a copy of the ebook, Easing Pain, 8 Action Steps for Long-Term Relief. And while you're visiting our website, you can learn more about our philosophy, meet our coaches, sign up to receive our twice-weekly inspirational message called The Fountain, and buy a copy of my book, Being the Creator, The 5 Modes of Emotional Power. If you found value in this video, click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Until we meet again, look at the world with wonder and at yourself with warmth.